Okay, so 10 reasons, this is like the top 10 reasons to get over 2.5 billion available. This is not a loan. This is not like you go to I mean, if you really ever started a company and went to a venture capitalist, those people want your blood, they want your children, they want your house, they want everything. So this is, I mean, first time I heard about this, I couldn't believe it. And of course, once you get it, now you have credibility, provides recognition, verification, visibility. It's a leveraging tool for venture capitalists, particularly if you go to that phase 2B Bridge Award. Also, if you're really a small company and you need scientists, it fosters the partnership. Or if you're a scientist and you want to commercialize your stuff, it does the same thing. The rest you can see is more from the state. This is a state slide. It creates jobs and generates tax revenues. Nothing wrong with that. But this is what drives the Georgia Research Alliance. So I can't tell you how many times the Georgia Research Alliance have used us as an example of how many jobs we've created, how much money we bring into the state. And this is a multiplying factor, just like we hire people from the outside and so on. It then provides seed money to get high risks, and this, by the way, is what I keep reminding myself and everybody. Industry gets the indirect costs. Sweet deal. And again, from the state, intellectual property rights are normally retained by the small business. I can't tell you when I spoke to Julie Collins how many times she kept trying for me to move everything into the company rather to share it with Emory. And I kept saying, no, but my situation is I want to keep it here. This is the plan. And of course, I mean, she was just advising me what she thought was better for me and for the state, with the fear that what stays at a university dies. The small business concerns are recognized as a unique national resource of technological innovation. If you heard Obama give speeches, he talks about this all the time. And this is one of the few things that Democrats and Republicans agree on, because it's business and it's science, and in medicine it's helping patients and so on down the line. And you can see this came from Obama himself. Common misconceptions, universities can apply for STTRs. No, you can't. It has to. The application has to come from the small business. If a university is involved, you have to do an STTR. No, it doesn't have to be. It could be an SBIR with a subcontract. If the IP comes from the university, you have to do an STTR. No, as I mentioned, we just put an SBIR. The scientific IP stays with Emory. In the inventor, key scientist, faculty, you have to do an STTR. Not necessarily, depends on the percentage. If the PI of the STTR is at a university, it is their grant and contract. No, this is still the small business concern. All of the work can be done at the university. No, remember, there has to be a percentage that has to be done. And I'll talk about that, I think, maybe right in the proposal. You have to be very specific in the proposal. Who's doing what? In other words, is the company, what part is the company doing, what part is the university doing, assuming you have a scientific university collaboration. And you have to be very specific at who's keeping the IP. And of course, how are you going to protect the IP and all that. So in the research strategy here, this is just like any other, let's say, R1 proposal. And in some ways, I resent it a little bit. But, you know, specific aim, significance, innovation, approach, all of that is part of a regular R1. And benchmark and milestones is also part of an R1 proposal, except that the last one takes on an added more significant meaning. You have to think more of it like it's your money. I mean, they tell reviewers you should always think it's your money because you pay taxes, you're giving it away. So you're investing it, and you want to make sure that the benchmarks make sense, the milestones make sense. Not only to solve the scientific problem, but to make this a viable commercial product. The reason yeah, go ahead.
So can IP be owned jointly, 50-50 or something like that?
Say that again?
Can IP be owned jointly?
Can IP be joined?
Held jointly between the university and the college?
Yes, it can. You have to be very, again, you have to, that question deserves a long answer, unfortunately. So what we do, I'll repeat what we do at Syntramed, is we identify which one is doing what, and they keep the IP for that. It's tough for me and you to say we're both going to work on developing a new vaccine, but I'm going to keep half. I mean, why? He said, you understand, from the business point of view, what is it that I'm keeping? What is it that you're doing to keep half, and what is it I'm doing to keep half? From the scientific point of view. So perhaps it could be done. You can actually put it down on paper, but it would have to be done. Does that make sense? So the reason I don't like this, I've become to hate the word innovation. The word innovation to me is a killer for translation. And the reason is you innovate something, and now you're asking money to commercialize it. They'll say, oh, this is not new. You already did it. But I want to commercialize it. Yeah, I know I got the general ideas, but I haven't developed a commercial problem. And so, for example, the last proposal we got funded, we got a perfect score. And it was on developing flow tools for flurpiridaz. Flurpiridaz is a PET perfusion agent, which is better than anything else out there, but it doesn't have FDA approval. And in fact, the company is having, now for a few years, is having financial problems. They did the first half of the phase 3 trial. They don't have enough money for doing the second half. But because the agent hasn't come out, because nobody's worked on this, it's very innovative. And so we got the full $1 million. But if the company never does the phase 3, our stuff will never become a product because we're measuring flow on something that is not, doesn't exist. It's not commercially available. So you can see how weird and I accept it much better in an narrow one, even I don't like it there either. Because, for example, if you tell me, if I wasn't a reviewer and I don't like what you're doing, I can argue that it's not innovative. So you tell me any algorithm, I'll say, wait a minute, you use computers and you use software. Everybody uses computer and software. That's not innovative. You use test tubes. Everybody uses test tubes. So anyway, I could talk about that one also for a while. Okay, so you can see, so here are benchmarks or our fast track proposal. And I won't read those. This was very specific, but you can see how specific we are as to who's doing the work, what months are being done. So when you write the proposal, you want to project your belief that this is a real company, your belief that this is a real product, and your belief that you're actually going to be able to complete it. And so for the milestones, we are very specific. This looks like any milestones for a real product, because it is a real product. So in an R01 grant, maybe we'll have 4 or 5 lines here because we have no more space. By the way, space is a problem. On a phase 1 proposal, you only get 6 pages for the scientific side. And the reason initially we submitted the fast track was to be able to get 12 pages because we thought we needed 12 pages to convince them that this thing actually worked. Now, a lot of people have asked us for this, and we made this available to a few people at Emory. We cannot give you what's inside those, those titles because that's intellectual property for the company. But these are the headings of what the commercial plan, which is not part of the 6 pages, we put in for this business grants. And one of our strengths is that, in fact, this is a real company. The company's been around since '99. The company makes similar products that have been successful. There's a pipeline. All those kinds of things are important. So I'm happy to Again, Dr. Grupinski has these slides. I'm happy to make this available to you, but I cannot give you what is inside of there. So because this is kind of new for many of you, I'll just read them. And if you have questions, ask me. What is the value of the project? What are the expected outcomes and the commercial impact of the project? What is the company? That's where you have to describe who Synthermed is, how many employees, all of that. What is the market you're going after? Who are the customers and the competition? Now, for some of you who have submitted proposals to Coulter, Coulter is doing more and more of this, helping you with consultants, helping you look into this kind of things because they know this is what is needed. What is the intellectual property?
I just want, when you write something like this, you must have, did you write this yourself? Did you have a business partner who came in and explained to you what it is? You know, when someone says to me, what is the market? I could maybe come up with one sentence or 1.5 sentences about what the market is, but to describe.
So let me ask you something. Will you invest $5 million of your money into something that you've looked and you only got one line of market?
Of course not.
So you can't. Someone has to do it.
Someone who understands
so
how to analyze
so
the market,
my
all that sort of thing.
so fortunately for us, we've done this. So we know, we have to know the market. You know, here, let me say it again. Here, I'm not going after research money. It's nice to have. I'm going after a product. So if I don't know that what we're developing is going to be commercially viable, I don't want to do it.
Sure.
Because what, it's going to go to the valley of death? I'm going to get 2 more references in my CV, and then what, move on to the next one? So that's not how I work. And that's not how these people work in terms of evaluating your proposal.
Yeah, as a reviewer, people will look at this at least as much as they will at your scientific plan. Some people, some reviewers will even look at it more. If they have a business background, the reviewers are going to look at this and score your proposal on that. And one of the big ones is that market analysis. You know, what are you adding? Do you actually are going to sell this to 1,000 people, or are you going to sell it to 2 people? And people will knock your scores down if you don't have, you know, a justification for
So
what
you
you're
have to know
doing.
how to prove
You really
that.
do have, yeah. This is an important section.
Yeah, and I'll say that I will modify it by saying it that they should read it. So what happened in our last direct phase 2 proposal was a toolbox for CMR, cardiovascular MR, and this is like the 4th time we submitted. We've answered every question. They said, well, the main weakness is they don't compare to the other tools in the market. It was in there, a whole page, never even looked at it. So it gets very frustrating, but it is what it is.
So as a rule of, is there a rule of thumb how big the market has to be?
Enough to make money. So this is not like an orphan drug that you want to save lives. Yeah, you want to save lives, but you want to make money too. Because if you don't make the money, everybody knows the product's going to die. If the product dies, you don't save any lives.
Right. What I'm asking is, it has to be like a $10 million market size, or it has to be a $100 million or $1 billion size? Or
So it has to make financial sense. So for example, if you go to a pharmaceutical company, and let's say you're developing a new nuclear medicine agent, and you go to Bristol Myers Squibb, and you say, I have a market of $10 million. They'll say, but we have a drug that sells every year for $10 billion. Why should I put my money in you when I can put in another drug like that? So it all depends on who you go to get the money, what your reasons for doing it are, and so forth. So it has to make financial sense. I don't know, that's not an easy thing for me to tell you in one line.
So I guess, I mean, from government's perspective, what they are.
The government reviewer, the reviewer is supposed to tell you and think the same way I'm thinking. So if it's going to take you $5 million and the total amount you'll ever make is $10 million, then you have to sit there and say, is that a good return on investment? Remember what I said, usually an investor wants 10 times. Why? Because 9 of those times he lost his money. Now, on the 10th time, he needs you to make the money of the 9 he lost.
So as a rule of thumb, probably like 20 times the money you're out.
10 times will be good, yeah. Usually they like to see returning. Again, that's not the government, and I don't know. Many of these reviewers don't know much about commercial stuff. So, but usually if you go to venture capitalists, they know. They want at least return on investment by the end of the 3rd year, and they want eventually to make at least 10 times what they put in. So you can see here marketing material and sales tools, product management and development plan, brand strategy, sales plan, business processes, revenue stream. So this is where having a real company really helps you. Not having it hurts you, even though this program was really developed to help start new companies. Again, it's a catch-22. It's like new scientists, but they want your preliminary results to be almost finished with. So, you know, I don't know what to tell you about that, but that's the way it is. Questions, more questions on this. I know this is a part that many of you probably have the most questions. And this is where, again, if you're a scientist and you never venture into this world, you need someone to help you.
The multidisciplinary team. MBAs.
Yeah, again, I don't know how we're doing in time. Yeah, we're kind of getting there. Let me get to the end and maybe I'll take more questions. So my advice, believe in your product and project it. You have to project it in the writing. So for example, one of the beautiful things about the internet and the virtual world is you can make your company look great on the internet. I mean, go to Cintermed.com and see what a company looks like. You want somebody when they go, you know, Duzak.com, that this looks like, you know, you're taking over the world. You have to make sure it's a real product fulfilling a real need. Will truly help patients, of course, if it's a clinical type of device or product, and will make a commercial success. Those 3 are key. So I read one recently from one here at Emory, and it sounded very wishy-washy. Well, we're hoping this happens, and then if that we hope happens, then maybe this other thing will happen. That shows like you don't believe that you're going to be a success. So again, make sure the proposal originates from a real company. In the past, a lot of people would incorporate and say they were a real company, be a one-person company, and they will make a living out of phase 1 proposals. So they're trying real hard not to allow that. This is a tough one. Treat the research strategy very much like an R01. So R01s are tough, but if you treat it like an R01, you're a lot more competitive compared to other people. Highlight significance and innovation, but separate industry, academic task, and IP in the write-up, paying attention to the difference between an SBIR and an STTR. And get help. There's a lot of people to help you. Not only, as you know, we have Dr. Krupinski here heads a committee for grants, but also the state, the NIH people, technology transfer, successful applicants. Even venture capitalists will help you. It's advice from other people. Don't judge the agency interest by its name. For example, Department of Defense. They say, well, there's no way they could be interested in a camera. Or NASA, there's no way they could be interested in that. That's not necessarily true. I just got called from the Department of Defense to review a new camera. Understand agency's mission and needs. Get to know the program manager. That's true for anything you do. Read solicitation and follow instructions, even though you can go around the rules. Don't depend. Again, this should not be an excuse to get more money to pad your CV. This has to be a real attempt to start a company or promote a company, promote a product. Don't go it alone. As has been said here, you need a multidisciplinary team, use support system, have an outcome. Again, this is not like a grant, like a regular scientific grant. The outcome has to be you develop something that has value and not only has scientific or clinical value, but it has commercial value. The beauty here is you're going to get evaluations whether you like them or not. And if you're going to be investing your own money, you want to know what other experts think about your idea. And as usually, be persistent. I told you the last one is the 4th time we send it in. Watch out for us. Make sure that the company has company control research facilities. Again, if you're asking a 40% indirect cost, where are the people working? If the PI of the SBIR also maintains a faculty appointment, that they reduce their effort appropriately. Again, big no-no if you you can't make more than 100% of your salary. You accurately represent the resources that the company has. And so I got 2 more slides, I believe, just to remind you that there are 2 diverse cultures between university and industry. Particularly the second one is the most important one. We are used to being at a slower pace at a university when you work with industry. And when you talk about contracts, they're very serious. I take contracts with industry very serious. Often when I fail on a contract with industry, the person that wrote the contract with me gets fired. This could be millions of dollars and something didn't happen that should have happened. So, I take it seriously. Technology transfer activities are companion to applied research mission and fertile ground for economic development. Again, the beauty is when I started doing this, there were really diverse cultures. Now universities are understanding that they need to interact with industry. So here you can see the second bullet there is quick-paced. They're really, if you say it's going to be done in 2 years, you better get it done in 2 years. Now, working in contracts, some contracts that we have now, companies are assigning project managers to the project, and they treat us just like if we were working. We have to keep reminding them we don't work for them. But the reason they want to make sure that it's going to be ready for when they need the product to be ready. So you want to solve problems, develop new products, they want to make profit. And of course, they want to control the science to explore the full potential of discovery. And we could talk about these things for hours. But the beauty here is they're coming together. And I think that's my last slide. Key ingredients: develop common goals, create entrepreneurial environment, which is happening while protecting the interests of the university. That's what technology transfer does. Establish policies to manage, reduce, and eliminate conflict of interest. Pain is a pain, but it has to be done, and it should be done, and it gives you additional credibility if you do it. And of course, the university wants to retain the intellectual talent. They don't necessarily, if you're a really good scientist, they don't want you to go off and never see you again. They want to profit from your developments. So that's all. Questions?
Does anyone online have any questions?